Hi, Beirut Buzzers, and welcome back to another episode of the Beirut Buzz podcast brought to you by Beirut.com. I'm your host, Lynn, and today I'm joined by Karim Khalil. He is a Lebanese clinical psychologist and mental health advocate who took his Instagram platform, Yalla, Let's Heal, to shed more light on mental health issues in Lebanon. Hi, Karim.
Eileen, how are you?
I'm good. Sure, are you in a good mood اليوم?
Of course I am because I have this lovely podcast. So
Oh.
definitely I'm in a good mood right now. Yes.
خلينا نبلش دغري نحكي عن الانستغرام بيج تبعك.
Yes.
You created an Instagram page اسمه Yalla Let's Heal.
Yeah.
And where you give tips for mental health and well-being. It went viral. You now have over 58k followers on your page, and people are positively engaging with your content. أنا personally كتير بحب الpage. So how did it all start? And what is it that makes your content so friendly and appealing?
Okay. Thank you. That's a nice question. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you how it started. It started 2 years ago. It was even before I got the license to practice. However, I had finished my training, but I just didn't get the official document. بتعرف الأشياء بلبنان, they were quite slow. But it was during the pandemic, and we were all stuck in quarantine. And صراحة, I was never such a big fan of social media. I never even had a personal Instagram account or even a Twitter account. I know I was just never a fan. I'm quite a private person, and also I'm quite an introvert. But then I saw that during the pandemic, people have been talking about mental health quite a lot. People saying, no, عم يقعدوا مع حالهم أكتر. They're sitting with themselves more. Than they're maybe thinking about stuff a little bit more, thinking about their own mental health, their own likes and dislikes, because they are stuck at home. They have nothing much to do. So I thought, you know what, it seems like anxiety is on the rise, and it makes sense why. It seems like depression is on the rise, and not just because of the pandemic, but because we went through a lot in Lebanon, يعني من الثورة to like the revolution, and so I thought, why not? And I have had some friends encouraging me. I like to be funny in real life. I have quite a personality, so they thought, you know what, mix that up with psychology, and maybe you will have a nice Instagram page. So I thought I would give it a go, and so it started 2 years ago, and yeah, people started to notice the content a bit more. People would share the content a little bit more, especially when I would talk maybe about more controversial topics. And yeah, and to answer maybe the second part of your question, what I think people related with is that, number one, it's easy. I don't talk too scientifically because no one wants to read that. I try to make it friendly. Because I'm not talking to people with a background in psychology. I'm talking to people with many different backgrounds. So I have to make it readable for people. And I also like to make it a little bit fun. Yes, it's true. I'm talking about a lot of serious subjects, but at the same time, I like to do quizzes so people can interact. I like to do questions and answers. I like to put some humor in it, because without humor, I think we're all going to be way worse off. But of course, only when it's appropriate, not with every subject. And I also like to be مش controversial, but I like to talk about things that people might feel it's a bit hype or hype, and I like to be open about such subjects. So maybe when people see my page, they think, oh wow, that's a bit different. He maybe says things that we wish we could say, and maybe they feel like it's a safe space.
شو في شيء هيك توبك حسيته كتير ريسكي إنه تحكي عنه، بس حكيت عنه و it got a positive feedback?
Right. So the topic of the LGBT community. So when I talk about homosexuality, for example, I get a lot of mixed responses, but I will say mostly it is positive. I get a lot of DMs and messages about people saying, I cannot share your content because my family they would not be very happy with it. However, thank you for being a voice for us. Thank you for talking about this. from a psychological perspective, from a scientific perspective, that no, homosexuality is not a disorder. And so but at the same time, of course, I do get the um يلي بينتقدوا, I guess, in the comment section, saying, what you're saying is wrong. You are influencing people, when I'm not influencing anyone. I'm not telling anyone what they should or shouldn't be. I'm just giving the information of this is what it is. And it is. It's like when you tell someone, oh, this is sex. It's not like you're saying, yalla, go have sex. You're just saying this is sex. And so yeah.
So, as a clinical psychologist, you're exposed to so much suffering and sadness. ومثل ما قلت هلا اوقات you get انه negative comments وهيك. So how do you personally do? What do you personally do to replenish yourself from being empathetic with patients' struggles? يعني إذا بدك, what's your self-care routine?
Right. That's a nice question, and at first I used to find this a bit more difficult. أول ما بلشت مش بس انستا بس قصدي أول ما لما بلشت تشوف patients in real life, I used to find it difficult لأنه كنت دغري حن مع الشخص. I used to be so compassionate. I mean, of course I still am compassionate, but before it used to be to a point where I maybe it would interfere with my work a little bit. But of course, with time, you learn to try to put your emotions on the side. لأنه your main goal is to help the person, not to become their best friend. So هيدا الشغلة. How I try to take care of myself. أول شيء, I don't take things personally. If I see negative comments, for example, it's maybe because they don't understand the issue. Oh, maybe I said something in a non-clear way as well. Yeah, it's fine for me to look at myself and see, okay, I could have improved in some aspects. And how I deal with everything altogether. I mean, I have my own therapist, to be honest, and it was one of my best decisions that I ever took. I think all therapists should have therapists, to be honest, in order to deal with their own emotions as well. And the way I have my own self-care routine is, I mean, هلا اذا بقول that I exercise كون عم كذب, لانه I haven't been doing much of that. بس لازم.
هلا بصير فيك كتير strong وهيك.
Exactly, maybe in the winter time. I'll get back to that. But music, TV shows, I like to put my phone down. Honestly, if I could give one big tip for everyone, is put your phone down for an hour a day and just live. Do anything, especially in Lebanon when we have bad news all the time. So that's something that I try to do. And I find it hard. I open Insta and I start seeing one reel and it turns into 1,000 reels. وبكون ضيعت وقت. So I have to try to do that as part of my self-care. So yeah, and I mean, I think just naturally I am someone that بتأثر بس مش لدرجة that it will ruin my entire day or week. For me, I think it's more natural. I don't do anything specific لما أتأثر. For example, for negative comments, I guess I just naturally just put it to the side. Okay, هذا الشخص, they put a negative comment, but بالنهاية not everyone is gonna like what I say, and not everyone's gonna like me as a person, and that's fine. It's something I've just accepted.
So إذا بنحكي شوي عن الكونتنت تبعك, you كمان التارجت audience إذا فينا نقول هي Lebanese people mostly.
Yeah.
وهلا most Lebanese people are currently just focusing on how to survive the harsh reality we live in. And our collective mental health has been, unfortunately, slipping through the cracks. So speaking from your experience, وخصوصاً أنت بلشت نزل posts بفترة كانت كتير صعبة. How is this collective trauma being translated today?
Yeah. Yes, you are right, by the way. إنه I بلشت نزل post بوقت كتير صعب. only a few months after I even started the Instagram, not even a few, like only a couple, بركي شهرين بعد ما بلشت الانستغرام, صار الانفجار, the Beirut explosion, which I was giving a therapy session بالأشرفية, and I was affected by it as well, يعني physically. And so maybe a couple days after when I regained my own self, لأكون أنا رقت شوي, I started talking about it, and seeing the response at the people, they really need help, and it's still something that's affecting us right now, not just the explosion, but really everything that's happening in our country. See is that people are just more afraid, there's the fear of the unknown, what's going to happen next. People are leaving the country, people are missing their friends, and there is just this, I don't know what to call it, but just this sadness that is with everyone. I know that some people maybe mask it. You might see someone laughing, you might see someone smiling, but it doesn't mean that they're not feeling the effects of what's happening in Lebanon. And so I do try in my content to always include, it's not each and every post akid, but I do like to include stuff about, for example, trauma, about being in survival mode, about the things that we are going through in this country. هلا أنا I guess maybe I can see it more clearly لأنه I'm talking to people مثلا at the office. I'm seeing how it's affecting people. I'm seeing actually how it's affecting a lot of relationships because of, let's say, people moving abroad, and not many people can do long distance. This is just one example. And I also think we can see this in the news. يعني مثلا إذا بتشوفي how people are standing on queues just to buy a piece of bread. How people are fighting in supermarkets. You can see it just in people's eyes. I also believe the homelessness has increased a lot. You just go on the street and so many people are homeless, are begging for food, are begging for money, and so you can see this just by walking around Beirut. Even if you go to, let's say, where the explosion was, you can still see a lot of remnants from the explosion. So you can physically see it, and also you can see it in the people and their faces, I think. And people are, I feel like, just sometimes they're expecting the worst and know, well, what's gonna come next. I don't think that so many people are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and even I actually struggle to see it sometimes. So yeah, it's really it's all around.
Also, something related to that topic, you once shared an Instagram post on coping with financial stress, وبعدين نزلت a story إنه العالم بيسألوك أسئلة on Instagram. And then one day you looked back at this post and you realized that the tips you gave were quite generic and not really therapeutic. So إذا هلا بدك ترجع تعمل هالpost, how would you update it?
Wow, you did a deep dive into my account. I barely even remember that moment. But there was one day where I was just looking at some of my earlier posts, and I saw that, and I was like, why did I write that? And it was maybe like just one day where I had maybe like nothing to write, or I wanted to do something very fast, and it wasn't really like psychological. It was okay, yeah, maybe that day actually dollar بركة it spiked up a little bit, and so I heard some people talking a lot about financial stress, and so maybe that motivated me to do that post. But like the advice in that post weren't psychological. They were mainly like, save money, buy things when it's necessary. It's something like a business person would give you such advice rather than a therapist. So I thought, you know what, just take it down. ما كتير ألعازة صراحة. And sometimes I do look back at some previous posts and I'm like, that's interesting that I wrote that. But yeah. So now if I would write that, I mean, actually now الوضع and the dollar, it's even worse than when I wrote this post a long time ago. So I actually don't know, because there's a lot of things that we cannot change. We cannot change the trajectory of the dollar and the lira. But I mean, one thing that I would say is that for us to just do things day to day that don't have to require so much money. So, for example, I choose to, and I have done a lot of that. I'm sure so many Lebanese people do this, where we are choosing some activities that maybe don't require as much money as we used in the past. So, for example, I take a little bit more walks. I go to maybe a cafe rather than the most expensive restaurant that maybe I used to be able to go to in the past. I do things that are, you know, things that I can do. Yeah, but يعني even now, I find it hard to give advice when it comes to monetary things. I know it's not really like my expertise, so that's that's one of the reasons why I removed that post.
هلا maybe it was generic بس انه كمان it was useful يعني
Yeah,
اكيد حدا استفاد من هذا الشيء.
yeah.
So كمان someone asked هلا رح نزيح شوي عن الموضوع. Someone asked you what would you have been if you weren't a psychologist?
Yeah,
And you said your first dream was to be an actor.
yeah.
Would you ever consider becoming a drama therapist مثلا?
Ya Allah, this is so funny. I really love you, by the way. This is hilarious. The fact that you can be like, oh, you said this once. I mean, I've never experienced that before. It feels like someone's following me around.
Oops.
لا
I mean, I did stalk you before.
لا
Before I
عادي.
wrote down my questions.
It's fun. I like that. Okay, so yes, I love theater, and Anna, I was that kid at school that was in every play. I was in Greece, the musical Greece. I was in that.
Yes.
I was in Lion King. That was my favorite role, actually. I played Scar from Lion King. That's the big
wow.
bad one. And I had a musical number to do. It was so much fun. I like to play the mean people because I feel like I'm such a nice person. I'm very empathetic in real life. So when I'm on stage, I like to be bad. I like to let that side come out. Maybe I would have been. Well, actually, I would have loved to have been maybe an actor than a drama coach. But like when I was at school and you would ask me like what kind of teacher you would want to be, I would definitely say drama professor. So maybe as a اختيارات وهيك, I would like to to do to be a professor in acting. Yeah, and actually, sometimes we do role playing in sessions. I don't do it too much, but let's say when you're practicing putting boundaries with someone or having a conversation, or you want to work on your communication, you might practice in session, so that can involve a little bit of acting. And so maybe heck, one day in the future I can do some research and come up with like an acting workshop that is very therapeutic, but that's like for the future. I'm not thinking about this right now. I have too many other things going on, but yeah, so I definitely would have been somewhere in the whole drama thing. But me being Lebanese, I didn't feel like when I was young I had people or things pushing me to go with this dream that I had. So I ended up just not pursuing it. And I also did like psychology, so yeah.
Since حكينا عن drama و acting, yesterday I read an article titled "Actors really are more emotionally unstable than the rest of us." Also, I'm a performing arts major, so كتير بقرا هيك articles. And it goes on to say that actors tend to have significantly more traits of personality disorders. So the author of the article acknowledged one looming question that the research doesn't answer. So عم بقري لك الquestion هلا مثل ما هي مكتوبة بالarticle. Does acting attract unbalanced people, or do the unusual emotional demands of the profession make people unbalanced?
Okay. I don't think it attracts unstable people. However, it does attract I think creative people, and for someone to be creative you have to be a little bit more in touch with your emotions, maybe a little bit kooky. And when I say kooky, I say it in the best term possible, because I consider myself sometimes as one of these people as well. You know, you have to be a little bit creative, a little bit out of the box in order to do that. And so I'm gonna give you a example. So back in the day when I was still trying to pursue acting, كنت هيك بعدني خالص مدرسة and going into university. And so I that phase and okay, I'm gonna go into psychology, but I'm gonna, you know, try to see the acting scene in Lebanon. And so I had a friend who she was very like she was a, you know, she was an actress in Lebanon, like a stage performer, and she's, you know, quite well known actually. And so I was like, you know what, um, you know, teach me your ways, you know, let me see some of the acting world. And so she took me to a play, and I met her friends, and they were all just so different, you know, you had and I'm talking like 10 years ago, like, so in 10 years ago it was more different than now. Like, you had this girl with blue hair, this guy wearing the biggest coat I have ever seen. You know, people who are so they were so out there, and like هلا as you see them today it's normal, but back then, like 10 years ago, I was like, you know, wow, that's interesting. And so it it does attract these people that are just more out of the box, that are pushing the boundaries, that are maybe a bit more in touch with their emotions. And maybe these people are misunderstood, like they're seen as they're different. Maybe it's they're different, they're a bit maybe over emotional. Maybe it's a personality disorder. And for me, I feel like personality disorders are way too overused. Like, you'll see anyone that's a bit more emotional than the other. Oh, okay, she's borderline, or she's a narcissist, or he's borderline, or he's a narcissist. When actually it's not the case, you know. Um so I would say that it doesn't take unstable people, but more creative people, I guess. وبحس انه it being in drama, being in performing arts, it allows you to be yourself as well. Yani, people could be maybe also more kooky in business, but they just don't show it. They'll do
Yes.
it behind the scenes. But when you're maybe doing performing arts, you're more yourself in front of other people. So maybe people perceive it as, you know, oh, wow, they're so different, but actually so many people are different, but maybe they just show it a little bit more. Yeah.
سؤالت لنا عن your favorite هيك شوي plays، وقلت لنا أنا بتحب لاين كينج، بس أنا كتير حشورة بدي أعرف what's your favorite movie.
Move. Okay, well, إذا بدي أقول musical, for some reason I really liked Mamma Mia.
I love Mamma Mia.
When I was younger, yeah, I really liked it. هلا it's not my favorite movie ever, بس إنه in terms of musicals وهيك. And also Grease أكيد. Grease was nice. شو في كمان. Okay, هلا in terms of favorite movie, I'm a huge fan of the Harry Potter series. So I am a Harry Potter حقول fanatic من هالقد. But no, يعني I have read the books more than once, so I guess I'm more than the average person, that's for sure.
Okay.
So I would say that just the whole Harry Potter series would be my favorite type of movies. It just takes me to a different world, to be honest, than Earth. And so yeah.
We are recording this episode on the 15th of August, which happens to be ما كنت عارفة بس it happens to be the National Relaxation Day.
Oh.
It's a good day to slow down and unwind. So what activity can people do to relax and reduce stress بهالمناسبة؟
Okay. I'll say maybe a nice one. So I really like to sometimes use mindfulness in my sessions if I see fit. So one of the mindfulness techniques for someone to be, you know, more in tune with their body, the environment, to be more present, to be more in the moment rather than somewhere else that their mind takes them, because our mind will always take us somewhere else, whether it's the past, the future. So it's an activity to keep you grounded. I like to use the five senses. So for example, let's say, you know, you're walking, you know, to really pay attention to what you're listening to without judging it, even if it's a sound that you hate or that you love, just see it as, just hear it as as a sound. This is a car honk. This is the air. This is a baby crying. Uh, just listen to it and don't judge it. As well as the eyes, so the vision. Look at your surrounding. What colors do you see? Um, Try to even name the colors. What do you like? Smell what's around you. You can even carry a nice smell with you in the bag. Some people like lavender, for example. Other people like
Mhm.
different smells. Use your taste buds. That's the fourth stance. You can have a cup of coffee with you that you can keep tasting. That can relax you. And also the sense of touch. You can, touch something that إذا في شي حدك مثلا or you can bring something with you, like one of those like stress balls that you can touch. So these five senses, they keep you grounded. So that's something you can do when you're outside, or even just when you're at home. It's a nice relaxing tool that just keeps you present.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my five senses to work today.
Yes, definitely.
So what would your final message for our dear Beirut buzzers be?
Oof. The final message is, and I said that a bit earlier, uh, life does not exist on social media. Stop comparing yourself to other people, because I see it done so much, especially now. People are saying that they see in their stories that people are traveling or living their best life when they really are not. So just take care of your own self. Um, uh, and also, what's best for someone else is not necessarily what's best for you. So put that phone down. Really think about what you want to do, even if it's just one small thing during the day, and it doesn't have to be something huge. And don't compare yourself to others. So that's a takeaway message that I can give the listeners. And also, I keep a follow at Yalla Let's Heal on Instagram.
Of course. Karim, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
And really, thank you for always reminding us through your social media platform that it is okay not to be okay. So this episode is a reminder that for everyone listening, that your mental health matters and there's absolutely no shame in seeking psychological support. So in the description, you can find a link to Karim's Yalla Let's Heal Instagram account and other platforms that can provide you with the kind of support you need, as well as the contact info for the Mindful Wellness Center that Karim is part of. So be sure to check those out. This episode has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. The Beirut Buzz podcast is available on Apple and Google Podcasts, on YouTube at Beirut Videos. So make sure you follow the podcast to hear more conversations with Lebanese people.